Hello, and a very big welcome to all of our prospective Year 7 students. I'm really glad that so many of you have managed to sign in. The number in the top left-hand corner of my screen is growing rapidly. Obviously, we're unable this year to actually have you in to this induction, an induction at school physically, what's going on around in the world at the moment. So we're doing something else a little bit different this year because we really want to make you feel welcome. And I hope you're as excited as me, because this is the very first induction live event that the Royal Alexandra and Albert School has done. And the whole point of this is that we very much want to answer some of your questions that we're sure you have about your first day and first couple of weeks at school. It's a really big step joining a secondary school, and we know this is a big moment in your lives. So today, the whole objective is to answer some of your frequently asked questions. We very much want to put you at ease and make you feel relaxed over the summer, so that when you join us in September, you're excited and you're really positive about your first day and feel comfortable that you just want to get started at life here at Gatton, which is very much what we want. So there's a whole panel of teachers that you're going to hear from today. I'm going to introduce each of those teachers now. I'm going to start with the best, obviously, first and foremost, which is myself. My name is Mr. Brown. I'm the head of the middle school here at Gatton, and what that means is I look after years 7, 8 and 9, and I work with the heads of year 7, the head of year 8, the head of year 9. And we work very closely to manage everything school related and everything for the pupils. So I'm going to get to know lots of you over the next coming year. Second of all, hopefully with the power of technology, I'm going to fire across to Mr. Gale. Mr. Gale is he going to come on? Yep, there he is. Say hi, Mr. Gale.
Mr. Gale, everyone.
Mr. Gale is our deputy head of boarding and pastoral. He's a pretty big job in school, so that's Mr. Gale. You're going to be hearing from him later. Next up is Mr. King. Where's Mr. King? There he is, the floating head himself. He's there. Hi, Mr. King. He is the assistant head and he is in charge of behaviour. All-round good guy here in school. So look forward to meeting Mr. King. And finally, I did say the best was me, but I was lying, of course. I've left the best till last, and probably the most important person that you're going to hear from today, the lovely Miss Pearson. Say hi, Miss Pearson.
Hello, everyone.
So Miss Pearson is actually going to be you guys and girls head of year when you come to join us. And I've written a little description about you, ma'am, without you knowing. So I've said that Miss Pearson is fun, enthusiastic, and a really enjoyable member of staff at school. And I'm actually going to pass over to Miss Pearson now, who's going to lead you through a little presentation she's devised. I'll speak to you again soon, guys.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I think by the power of technology, hopefully you'll be able to see my PowerPoint presentation shortly, which is going to go through some commonly asked questions and a bit of an introduction to the school. Wonderful. So I'm hoping on the screen you can now see a slide that says Welcome Year 7. And you can see on the left-hand side our school sign that stands at our gates for our entrance to our school. And in the middle are Gatton Hall, okay, which is a beautiful building, which is the forefront of our school. And our school is often referred to as Gatton because it is set in Gatton Park, which is 260 acres, which you are going to love exploring when you are here. On the right-hand side, you can see some of our students loving life in front of Gatton Hall. So my name is Miss Pearson. I am a PE teacher. I am also head of netball here at the school, and I'm going to be your head of year from September. I started at school in September 2019, and this past year I have been a year 7 tutor. My main hobbies include baking, running, and you guessed it, netball. So a typical day at our school, because we are a state boarding school, we have flexi and boarding students. So breakfast is served from 7:30. You can see there it says 7:25, but if you're a flexi, i.e. coming in from outside of school, not living on site, then you can come in for breakfast. You will then head back to your boarding house if you have come in for breakfast, or you will head straight to registration if you've come in a little bit later. You can see that we have chapel or assembly from 8:35 till 8:50. On some days that is also tutor time activities, and they're really fun and a really great way for you to get to know your tutor as well as your tutor gets to know you. We have 2 lessons that are both 50 minutes each with a 5-minute crossover time in the middle, and then we have break time, another 2 lessons, and then we head to lunch. Now, lunch is one of the highlights of my day. We have a fantastic dining hall whereby we have hot and cold options cooked fresh every single day. Wednesday is my particular favourite because we get lots of fancy homemade breads to go with pasta, but you will find that you will love the food here. We don't actually have any set playgrounds in school, apart from for our junior school. So if you're a junior here already, you'll know that. But you're allowed in and around your boarding houses at lunchtime. We also have an outdoor gym, and there's lots of outdoor places that you are able to hang around with your friends and get to know everyone. Everyone at the school does eat in the dining hall for lunchtime, so there's no kind of eating outside of there. And then after we finish lunchtime, we head to the start of period 5 at 1:50, and that is a very prompt arrival. Then you have another 2 lessons, and then you go back to your houses. When you return to your houses, sometimes you get a little snack, you also get a drink. It's a really lovely time, and then hopefully you'll be heading off to activities. Now, something that makes our school so fantastic is the fact that you are all able to stay for tea, to stay for activities, and to do your prep, which is something that we call homework here, okay, before heading home or heading to bed if you are a boarder. So that's a typical day at our school, probably not the typical day that some of your friends going to other secondary schools may be experiencing. Now, your timetable, what do you have to look forward to? All the lessons that you are going to do in September. So on the screen, you can see the amount of each lesson that you will get each week. So you'll see that you get a lot of English, languages, maths, and also you get a lot of PE, which of course as a PE teacher makes me very excited. So we have PE games on the left-hand side, and that is a double period of PE where the whole year group plays sports and activities. So for example, you'll do rugby, netball, football, hockey, rounders and cricket in those sessions. And then you also have 2 core PE sessions throughout the week, which cover a wider variety of activities, things like badminton, outdoor adventurous activities, and so forth. So you get 4 periods in total of PE. So anyone who's particularly sporty, we are really looking forward to welcoming you for that. But anyone also who maybe hasn't engaged so well with it so far, we are still looking forward to welcoming you because PE is super fun here. Then you can hopefully see on the top right hand side a sample timetable. Now you will be given this in the first few days that you arrive here, and generally your tutors will make you copy it into your prep diary, or they will let you stick it in. And this is kind of your referral where you look at where your classroom is, what lesson you've got next, and you'll probably have to refer to it quite frequently in the first few weeks, and then you'll start to learn it off by heart. But it will be in your prep diary, which will be in your rucksack, so you'll be able to refer to it at any point. So prep, I've put in brackets there homework because it's what we call homework here. It's just the word that we use to refer to prep. Now you get given a prep diary when you arrive, and that is your go-to place. That's where you're writing down every single piece of prep that you are given, the date it is due, and what the task is. You're also provided with a prep timetable when you arrive, and this is a really great organisation tool because it tells you which night to complete each subject's prep on, and that is a maximum of 2 pieces per night. So you will be able to use that to keep yourself organised, to keep on top of your prep, which I know for a lot of you may be something that you're a little bit more worried about when arriving in September. We also have this awesome app called Sims, and it allows your parents to see from home what your homework's been set, but also for you to see what homework you've been set, what prep you've been set. It also shows you things like credits, which are merits, which are rewards that we get here, and just to keep a track of how you're doing in school. So that's another place where you can look at your prep, but obviously you would have written it in your diary before, so that's fine. Something to note about here is we actually refer to our teachers as ma'am and sir. I always say ma'am as in ham, not ma'am as in palm. So sir is probably something that you've heard before, but generally in secondary schools they use miss. But here we use ma'am. So if you hear people when you arrive in September saying ma'am, ma'am, no, they're not being silly. That is just referring to a female member of staff. Now, of course, you're still going to learn the surnames of your teachers. For example, I am Miss Pearson. But for the register, you will say ma'am to say that you are present. Now at Gatton, we have the following aims. We ask everyone to take ownership of their lives, to respect ourselves, others and the environment, to aspire and persevere, be courageous and honest, and can contribute to our community and to our society. These attributes are recognised at the end of term with Gatton Awards, and these are framed awards. They're a real big accolade, so if you get one of those, it is something that you really want to put on the wall and be proud and show off. So there's a number of expectations that we're going to have of you in September, and I don't think that any of these will be new to you, but I just want to make it very clear. So we will ask you to be kind and courteous, to listen and follow instructions, to put in high levels of effort, and even in those subjects that maybe you don't enjoy as much, I want you to try even harder in those subjects and put in more effort. To look out for each other, to be organised, and we are here to support you in that process, to ask for help when required. Now, staff here are so supportive of our students, and we will always be there to help you. But sometimes we will need you to ask for that help when required, because we'll have lots of students in the classroom and we need you to make it clear to us when you need a little bit of further guidance. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Be kind and courteous in doing it, making sure that you've listened and followed to instructions, but ask for help when required. We will also expect you to rise to any new challenges, and there will be many here and they'll be exciting. And finally, we want you to aspire and strive to be the best version of yourself. So, opportunities at our school. My goodness, I have never ever worked in a state school that has so many opportunities available to our students. You are so lucky to be joining us in September. So we have a huge co-curricular program. Now this is it's the equivalent to an extracurricular program, but we call it a co-curricular program because we feel it's part of our curriculum here. Now this runs before school, lunchtimes, and predominantly after school in a 4 till 5 program, but some clubs do go later. Those clubs run from everything. We have trampolining, we have lots of sporting opportunities, but then we also have lots of choirs, ensembles. We then have board game club, anime club. There are a huge variety of clubs available to you, and you will find out more about those in September. Other opportunities available for you here. We have our school council to allow the student voice to be heard, subject ambassadors. If you are a flexi boarder, you also have the amazing opportunity to come and board 7 to 10 nights a year. And also we have some fantastic trips on Saturday and Sunday. I this year took a selection of students up to the Copper Box in London, and we went and watched New Zealand play South Africa and England play Jamaica. It was an amazing afternoon, and that is just honestly one of the small trips that we run every single weekend, and they are open to everyone to go on. So the probably much anticipated question, tutor groups. So you are going to find out which tutor group you are in on your first day. Now I really encourage you to get to know the tutor team, which is on our Year 7 transition webpage on the website. So if you go on the website, go to the school, then click on senior, and then Year 7 transition. There's a whole page there dedicated to you guys, those of you transitioning into Year 7 in September. And each tutor has taken the time to record a little video for you to introduce themselves, to tell you guys a bit more about them. And it's a really great way to get to know potentially who your tutor will be. On your first day, you will need to bring a pencil case, which will be packed full of stationery, I am sure, a notepad just to make any notes, a full water bottle, and you need to pack that all into one bag. Now try and keep that bag as light as possible because you are going to be carrying that bag around with you all day. Something to note, you won't need your PE kit on the first day, and of course because we all eat our dinner in the dining hall, you also won't need a packed lunch. There are going to be plenty of staff on hand to direct you where to go on the first day, but you will be heading in the morning to the sports hall. Now, if you go to main reception, they will send you in the right direction, but there will be loads of staff, and even I can advocate. Our students here are fantastic in helping everyone to get to the right place at the right time. So you'll be coming to the sports hall on the first morning when you arrive here. If you don't know where that is yet, you will find out very, very soon. So, big ask from me. Please check out the transition page on the website. Just a reminder, the school, senior year 7 transition. You will get to know more about the school. I particularly recommend viewing the virtual tour of the school and watching all of the videos under the section. There is one from me, one from Mr. Brown. There's also one from some of our extended staff around the school, which would be a really great thing for you to have an understanding of how our community operates prior to September. I just also want to recognise that we are so sad that we haven't been able to have our Year 6 Move Up Day and see you all in person this year, but we are really looking forward to meeting you in September. I'm now going to be handing back to Mr. Gale, but we're going to be answering any questions that you have shortly, and I'm sure you'll hear from me very soon.
Wow, what a fantastic introduction. Thank you very much, Miss Pearson. So I'll be taking over now. My name is Mr. Gale and I'm the deputy head at the school, and my responsibility, just to add a little bit of information to what Mr. Brown told you about earlier, my responsibility is to oversee the pastoral care of all pupils in school and also in boarding. I'm the safeguarding lead as well. So if we were to boil down the essential function of my role, it's to make sure that pupils here are safe and that they have the best experience they can. And I can tell you with the hand on my heart that you are in very safe hands with Miss Pearson and with Mr. Brown to look after you as you join our school and make the transition in. Now, this section of our live presentations is about the questions that you've sent in and providing answers. So we're really pleased to see I've got 89 attendees that are in the session this afternoon, which blows us away. Our predictions were much lower, so we're great to see. We're really pleased to see so many of you getting involved. We've got a list of questions that you've sent in advance, and I'm going to go through and I'll pass these questions over to my colleagues so they can provide some answers, some of which we've touched on a little bit already, but I'd love to see some more questions coming in. You can add a question using the live event Q&A. That question can't be seen by anyone until I publish it. So I'll be checking those questions. Please do add any questions in if you'd like to know a little bit more, but we'll start off with the questions that you sent us in advance. So I'm going to go back to Mr. Brown for our first questions. What I'll do is I'll hand over to them so you can see them live, and then I'll read the questions one by one that are going to be addressed to them. So over to you, Mr. Brown. And your first question is, where do I go on the first day?
Okay, so Ms. Pearson's covered quite a lot actually in her presentation that she was doing, and I think this is going to be the name of the game in Year 7. You are going to get lots of information and you're going to forget stuff that you've been told. So if we go over something, you're like, oh, she just said that. That's why we just want to make sure you're really clear on a few things, one of which is where you go on your first day. So most of you will arrive before school, and if you arrive before school starts, we don't want you standing around not knowing where to go. We want you to make a beeline really before school to your boarding house, which will be highlighted to each of you. You'll all be in different boarding houses. That's one of the big changes that's happening at school this year, is that we're going to vertical boarding houses, so everyone's going to be looking for new boarding houses, not just Year 7. If you arrive, around about the 8:25 time, the time that you'd be normally being sent up from the boarding house up to school anyway, then we very much want you to make your way to the sports hall. We're not expecting you to know exactly where that is. And like Miss Pearson says, please take a virtual tour of the school. Please have a little look at the map, which is online. But hey, there's going to be loads of people around that are going to be able to point you in the right direction. So just ask. People will be asking you, are you okay? Do you know where you're going? Don't be frightened. Please ask for help if you're not sure.
Okay, Mr. Brown, thank you very much. On to your second question. Again, this is something that's been touched upon. But what do I need to bring on my first day? Can you just remind people what they need to bring on their first day?
Sure. So first thing is one of the most important things has to be a proper bag for school. We don't want any like pouches where you can barely fit your mobile phone in. You know, please don't bring that anyway. We want a proper rucksack where you can get all the proper equipment in. And like Miss Pearson said, we want a fully stocked pencil case with all the essentials, a water bottle, and then a notebook would be an added benefit. I think they're the sort of tangible things you need to bring, you know, actual real life physical things you need to bring in. What we very much want you to bring is your A game, your effort, some positivity, your hard work, and just you know, your keenness to get started and show us what you can do as well. We want to see that right from the get-go.
Lovely, thank you, Mr. Brown. And on to sort of lunch times, people want to know about the routine and where they can play. If you give us a quick answer on that. Yeah,
so similar to form, you're going to find this out about Miss Pearson. She's very thorough in what she does. She's already covered this, but the lunchtime works here. You know, we have an hour and 5 minutes for lunch, and every year group has a set time, and that time changes daily actually, that you go in. And so, for example, year 7 might be at 1 p.m. So everybody in year 7 gets to queue up and go in at 1 p.m. and only year 7 students are allowed in at that time. That time does differ daily, and there's a timing poster up on the front of the dining hall. You'll be shown where that is so that you can keep tabs on that, so you're not queuing up for an hour before you go in for your lunch. In the first week, as a year 7, you will be going in a little bit earlier than everybody else. So your period 4 lesson, which is the one just before lunch, we'll cut that a little bit short. We want to make sure we get you in without rushing you, so that you can have some lunch without the normal hustle and bustle of a busy school. There's nothing to worry about with that. It's just that we just want you to understand the protocol so you're not holding anyone else up when it comes, you know what you're doing, basically.
Lovely, thank you very much, Mr. Brown. I'm going to hand back over to Miss Pearson, who will answer a few more questions. So first of all, Miss Pearson, we've got a question. And it might be a bit of a test for those pupils who are in the session to see if they've been listening. Okay, what do I call my teachers?
Okay, so here you call your teachers by ma'am and sir. So you will get to know their names. For example, I'm Miss Pearson, but generally I am referred to as ma'am. For example, Mr. Brown, you will get to know that he is Mr. Brown, but when you refer to him or when you're answering the register, you will say sir.
Lovely, thank you very much, ma'am. And what is the routine coming into school and leaving? If we could just summarise those key points from earlier.
Of course. So when you come into school, it is more than likely that you will head to your boarding house and you will stay there until you go to registration in the morning, which will be in your tutor room with your tutor every single day. At the end of the school day, you will then head back to your boarding house to sign out or to chill there for a little bit before potentially going to a club or being picked up a little bit later.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And I've got quite a few questions coming in, so thank you very much for everyone trying to find out a little bit more about certain things. Ma'am, could you tell us a little bit about the food at lunchtime? They're interested in the food, unsurprisingly.
Oh my goodness, the food here is great. I love the food. I think it's a classic PE teacher, but you know, I appreciate a good cook. So the lunch here, there are hot and cold options. We also cater for many dietary requirements. I know in my boarding house we have vegans, as well as people who have dairy intolerances. Our cooking staff are fantastic. So a sample meal, for example, today at lunch we had curry. There was a vegetable curry, a chicken curry, rice, poppadoms, vegetables to go with it. And then on a normal day, there'll also be sandwiches. And then for dessert, oh my goodness, there was fruit, yogurts, and today we actually had a treat. We had some shortbread and brownies. So that's a little snapshot of what lunch is like here, but it is fantastic, the food, and our catering team worked really hard to put on a really diverse spread of food for everyone.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm going to hand over to Mr. King, who's going to answer a few more questions. Mr. King, the first question is, who can you ask if you can't find a classroom? And there's another question or a couple of questions that have come up about what do you do if you're lost? So I think a similar answer for that.
Okay, Miss Pearson spoke about it earlier on in her talk, but each student has a prep diary. And within the prep diary, there's a map of the school which can show you where all of the classrooms are around the school and all of the boarding houses, etc. But there are lots of different people. The purpose of part of this meeting is to put your mind at rest, and you won't just be left by yourself to try and find your way around the school. There are lots of staff, there are lots of students, there are prefects, there are older students. There'll also be a lot of younger students in the school that will direct you and help you to find the place that you want to go.
Fantastic, thank you, sir. Some people are interested in the after-school activities, the co-curricular activities. Can you give us a bit of a flavour of what's available? Is there a drama club, for example?
Yeah, there's a drama club, there's art clubs. The clubs are for different key stages, which is probably of interest to you. So you won't be in clubs with people that are a lot older than you. You'll be in clubs with students that are of the same age. As Ma'am has suggested, the sporting clubs are just fantastic, and they range from trampolining, as mentioned, but there's lots of unusual ones like kayaking, judo, archery, as well as the best ones, which are obviously rugby, football and netball, mainly for the girls. So there are the opportunities at the school for sport. If you like sport, the opportunities are fantastic. However, there are opportunities for lots of different things.
Thank you very much. And one final question for you, sir, and I've seen this come in while we've been talking as well. Some pupils want to know a little bit about whether or not you get detentions and what you get detentions for.
Detentions, okay. So obviously, Miss Pearson, Mr. Brown and myself and Mr. Gale don't want people to get into trouble and don't want to get into detentions. It's not something that we don't look to punish students all of the time. We're here to try and help you make the right decisions. Now, if you forget your prep diary or you forget your pen or pencil, you're not going to be given detention after detention. We're here to, like I say, to help and support you. However, obviously, if students choose to do things wrong, then they will be given detentions, but they're not like in some schools. We've got a system where they're for 10-15 minutes, or it may be that they're an after school one. But like I say, it's not something that we would like you to focus on. We'd like you to focus on the positive aspects of the school, which is what we do. We want to praise you, not punish you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to take over for a few questions. We've talked a lot about how we are a very supportive community. There are lots of people you can get support from, the pupils in your form group and older pupils. We have lots of older pupils who take on the role of being a mentor. We have ambassadors for learning and anti-bullying ambassadors. They're there for you to go to get help or support. Within the staff body, your first port of call should be your form tutor. They are someone you see every day, as Ms. Pearson has said, and they will be there to support you through any of the challenges that you come up against as you join the school. We've got your head of house if you are a boarder, and also if you're a flexi boarder, you can still go to your head of house or the boarding tutors to get support. Ms. Pearson is your head of year, Mr. Brown is the head of middle school, and then we've got a wider range of staff. We have our ELT that can provide support. We've got a fantastic team of counsellors. We did share on our YouTube channel an interview I did with one of our counsellors talking about how they support our pupils, so do have a look at that. And we've got a health centre if you need to go there to get any support from them as well. If you do feel unwell at any point in the day, you can come to reception, and then they will guide you to go over to the health centre so that you can get some care and some assistance there. I've had quite a few questions come in about boarding, which is really good to see. Lots of people asking about their boarding houses. We'll have further information coming out about boarding houses and your allocation to boarding houses. That will be coming very soon. There's questions about the routines within boarding and whether or not you can go to see some of your friends in other houses. You can at specific times in your routine. You'll have the opportunity to sign out and go and see other pupils in different houses. So yes, that is available, and at weekends we have lots of free time for you to see other pupils in different boarding houses, as well as activities that run throughout the whole weekend. And a little bit of free time for you to go, with permission from your parents, to go down to Red Hill as well. I've got a question coming in to say that do we take bullying seriously? Yes, we take it incredibly seriously. We have a zero tolerance attitude towards bullying. This year, Mr. Brown and I were lucky enough to go to anti-bullying ambassador training run by the Diana Award, and we're working with a very passionate group of young pupils who are keen to build on the really strong community that we already have. We're very proud to say we have very, very few instances of bullying every year. Unfortunately, across the nation, we do see bullying in all schools, but we are on a journey to completely eradicate it, and we want to reduce the times when maybe people are not as kind to each other as they could be. So there's a lot of work from that student-led group, that pupil-led group, who are looking to make our community even safer, even kinder, even more welcoming. Lots of very specific questions about what the dorms will look like and whether you're going to be in dorms with pupils of other ages. We will not be putting pupils who are boarders in dorms with anyone who's a very different age to them. At most, we might find pupils sharing dorms with someone who's only a year difference in age. So we look after pupils and make sure they're with similar age groups in boarding. We think that's very important. I'm just scrolling through to see, we've had lots of questions come through as I'm talking. I think most of them have been covered. I mean, one on phones, Mr. Brown has already touched on this, as Miss Pearson has. You're only allowed phones in the evening. We believe very strongly that we want you to interact with your peers. We want you to engage in the co-curricular activities. So we only have certain times when you can use phones. It really is important for the boarders to be able to contact their parents or their family and their friends. So there are specific times in the evening, once you've done prep, once other things are sorted, that you can have access to your phones. There's a question here about flexi boarding for those of you who are flexi boarders. Yes, we want you to board if you're a flexi boarder. We want you to board for 7 to 10 nights. We think that it's very important as a boarding school that everyone engages with the boarding element of our school. And we are going to be doing a full boarding session that's going to be taking place with Mr. Swan tomorrow. So I think he can probably build on some of those. I just wanted to answer a few, as there was so many boarding questions coming through, which I'm very pleased to see. I think that we've covered most things, and I want to thank everyone for engaging with this. I want to thank my colleagues, Miss Pearson, Mr. Brown and Mr. King, for setting this up and putting so much effort into the videos that we've published for you to get an understanding of how you're going to make that transition to secondary school successfully. We are very excited about welcoming you to the school in September, and please do get in touch if you have any further questions. Look at those videos, engage in the boarding live session that's going to take place tomorrow, and we will see you in September. Thank you very much.